Harshad Parekh sir, you can unmute and start, sir.
Okay. Are you able to hear my voice?
Sir, no problem.
Good evening, friends. Happy Republic Day to all of you. Today, Chidanandji and Dubeji are not here, and so I am requested to start this meeting, and I have selected this topic, what is love? Now we all know that this feeling of love is not verbal, but when we come together, we have to speak a bit. But the word is not the thing, as Krishnaji says. And this topic I selected because this is the title of one of the articles of Krishnamurti in Commentaries on Living, and the title is What is Love? And this is from Commentaries on Living, Series 3. And in this, Krishnaji describes very beautifully how he looked at everything, even the things which are outside. And he describes in the beginning of this topic about a little girl who was very sick for many days, and her mother was taking care of her, and she was crying even at night, and the mother was very much tired, and there was a servant in the house, but that servant was not very efficient, so mother had to do the work of looking after the little girl. And Krishnaji also observes that in that room where the girl was lying, in the window, there was a plant, and that plant was neglected because mother was too busy and that plant was not watered. And also, also Krishnaji observes in the garden, outside, a banana plant and a very big leaf which was about 2 feet wide and many more feet long, and it was not torn apart by the wind. And that banana leaf was lighted by the sun. So Krishnaji observes all these minute details. And when that girl, when she was very healthy, Krishnaji used to play with her. And though their language were different, but they could still walk a little bit and talk. And then Krishnaji observes a car full of young people, and a woman was carrying water, a water pot, one water pot on her head and one water pot on her hip, and she was walking so beautifully. Krishnaji says she was earth in motion. So Krishnaji observed everything very, very clearly because I feel that his mind was very, very silent and awake, and he could see things as they are, and he could also describe it very beautifully. And then the article starts in that there are two men. They are working in an office. One is a stenographer and the other is doing some account. And they were not very highly educated, but they were interested in discussing serious topics. And one of their mutual friend took them to a talk of Krishnamurti, and what they heard, then they wanted to come and discuss with Krishnaji about what they had been discussing among themselves. And here also, Krishnaji observes that they were wearing a very neat dress, and though they came in a very dirty bus, their dress was not spoiled. And then Krishnaji observes that they were very shy in the beginning, they were smiling, they were hesitant, they were very respectful. And then after they become a little bit relaxed in the presence of Krishnamurti, one of these friend, these two people, asked Krishnaji, what is love? So that is where this dialogue starts. And Krishnaji asks, do you want a definition about it, the love? Do you want an opinion about love? And opinion is not truth. And there are many ideas. These two people, they had read many books, and they said that they had ideas that love should not be lustful. It should be a love for God and love for neighbors and love for parents. And love should be uniform and impersonal, and it should be a chaste and divine love, and all that they had read about it. And Krishnaji says, all this opinion is not truth. What do you really feel? And this person says, is it wrong to hold an opinion? Because they were holding all this opinion about love. And then Krishnaji says, truth is not a matter of opinion. Then this person says, I choose that which I consider to be true, that he wanted Krishnamurti's definition of love. And then he had already many definitions. And then he said that he will choose one of these definition, which he considers to be true. And Krishnaji says, the word love is not love. To inquire rightly, thought must be freed from conclusions, that there should be no conclusion that love should be like this or that. And this person says, the more we have gone over this question of what love is, the clearer it has become. And then Krishnaji asks a very, very important question. Krishnaji asks, has love become clearer, or what you think about it? So what Krishnaji is saying, that we can read a lot about love, many books, but the description may become very clear. Intellectually, we can speak about love, but the real love in relationship, what is that quality? And then Krishnaji asks another important question. Can you separate the feeling of love from the word? And that is, I consider, Krishnaji's very, very important question, because for most of us, the word love is love. And Krishnaji says another beautiful thing, word destroys the feeling. Because when we learn so many things, even about a mango tree or a neem tree, and then when we look at the tree, we are not looking at the tree, but the description or the image which we have. So here Krishnaji says to these two people that you have entangled yourself in a net of words, and the feeling is lost. When you love, Krishnaji says, when you love, everything will come all right. Love has its own action. So, in this article, Krishnaji is saying that the word is not the thing, the real feeling. When you first time, I remember when I saw somebody, I was about 17 years old. Sorry, I am telling you something which is coming to me, and maybe it may be interesting to you that I studied in an all boys school, and I was very shy. I had not talked with any girl. And even if the girl looked at me, I would look, because I was thinking that this word love is not a good word. I was very shy even to use that word. But then at the end of the school, we had examination, and my seat number came in one college where students of other schools also they come to write examination. And on the first day of the examination, in my room, I saw one girl, and she looked very, very intelligent to me. And when I saw her, then I said that she would be the best student in the city, because my teachers were expecting me to do the best in the city and also in the Gujarat board examination. And I then what I thought on the first day when I saw her, it came true. When the result came, her photograph came in the newspaper, and she was the best student. And then we studied together for 1 year in a college. And but I never talked with her, though I liked her very much. I was very shy, but that just liking her was enough to bring some change in my life. And one day my mother said to my father that some change is happening in Harshad, that me, but they did not know what was it. So what I feel, my view is that love is very, very good. It becomes a problem when we get attached to a person, and then we want to possess that person, and then we begin to know each other, and then there are images are formed, and then there are conflicts happen, and then what was that love which was very, very pure and beautiful, it goes away, and then we live with the images about the people with whom we live every day. And so I just said this, that was my first experience of love, and I never talked with that girl. And then after 1 year, she went into a medical college, and I went into engineering college. But I remembered her, and then after some time, she was forgotten. And then another article, now I will come back to uh, Krishnamurti's article, is about thought and love. And it is from Commentaries on Living, Series 1. And in this, Krishnaji says, thought with its emotional and sensational content is not love. Thought is founded on memory, and love is not memory. When you think about someone you love, that thought is not love. pictures with thought awakens are not love. Only when the thought process comes to an end that there can be love. So this is what Krishnamurti is saying, that our life is lived mostly in thinking, and even in thinking about love, but that is not love. Love is something non-verbal, and it is a feeling. And I also felt much later when I was in America, and every time I saw one girl, my heart was throbbing, and it was non-verbal, and she looked very beautiful to me, and I kept on looking at her. Um, it was in America for 6 months, and I did not talk with her, and it was really bringing about some changes in me. And then after 6 months, I found that she had no boyfriend, and so because I was hesitant to ask her to be my friend, because I thought she might have a boyfriend and I did not want to disturb her. But I found that she had no boyfriend, and then we became very good friends. And then I developed very strong attachment to her. And then many problems start coming in my life. And we used to go for walk. And then um, when I saw her with somebody else, then there was jealousy in me because I wanted to see that she should not go with anybody. And when sometimes anger, fear, loneliness, boredom, all this problem I went through in this relationship. And while this was going on, this kind of relationship, I was also reading Krishnamurti in 1970s, and Krishnamurti says, jealousy is not love, fear is not love, loneliness is not love, anger is not love. So only when a person becomes free from all these psychological problems, and when the mind is really silent and very clear, then we really feel something what Krishnamurti calls love, and that love is open. It is for everything. It is you can love a tree or a flower or a human being. So what Krishnamurti says is very I have experienced, and so I like to say that there is another article in Commentaries on Living, and the title is Love in Relationship. And in that, Krishnaji says, how easy to destroy the thing we love. How quickly a barrier comes between us, a word, a gesture, a smile. Health, mood, and desire cast a shadow, and what was bright becomes dull and burdensome. And so on, Krishnaji's every sentence is very beautiful in this article, Love in Relationship. But one sentence which kept on coming to my mind again and again is this: love in relationship is a purifying process as it reveals the ways of the self. Without this revelation, relationship has very little significance. So when there is this kind of love, and when we begin to observe ourselves very clearly, that how problems are arising, and when there is the freedom from that, then it really purifies you. And then comes a kind of love which Krishnamurti is talking about, which is for everything. And it is not a theory, but it is a real living that way. And I found that yes, I had attachment with that girl, very, very strong attachment, but I did not want to marry her. She was ready to marry me, but I was, because I knew that my life is not meant for a family life. I have maybe a different view about life. And so she got married, and then I felt for a few days, I felt very lonely. But after that, I was really free. And then a new life really began in my life. And then again, when I met Krishnaji in Ojai, I listened to him. Something happened, and that brought me to Krishnamurti schools and foundation. And when I wrote a letter to Krishnaji after in 1979, I wrote, which came spontaneously, that I would like to teach about love, beauty, and life to students of your school, but I don't know how to teach. Probably this thing cannot be taught, but one can discuss it. And I wrote that I can teach physics and mathematics, for which I am well qualified. So, my main interest in joining Krishnamurti school is Krishnamurti's teachings about love. And a person who really comes to that state of love, then there are no problems. Because Krishnaji says that where the self is, love is not. The self means this ego, and this ego gets hurt in relationship when somebody says something very, very damaging to you and you feel hurt. It means that you have a self image. And as long as this image exists, there is no love. And many beautiful thing Krishnamurti says, integration is not with somebody, with you, but within oneself. This integration is not brought about by the mind at any time. It comes into being only when the mind is utterly silent, having reached the end of its limit. Only then there is no pain in relationship. So this article really touched me very deeply. And then there is another article in Commentaries on Living. It is about how am I to love. So there is one rich person, he comes to Krishnamurti and he was very, very unhappy. And he says he never loved anybody. And he asked Krishnamurti, how can I love, How am I to love, he says. And then what Krishnamurti had said, it had really hurt him very deeply, because after reading Krishnamurti, after listening to Krishnamurti, he was very much disturbed and he had very bad dreams because he knew that there was no love and Krishnamurti is talking about love. And he says to Krishnaji, I wish to God I had never listened to you. I have sleepless nights, torturing dreams. I was afraid and I curse you. He tells Krishnamurti. And then Krishnamurti talks a bit, and then Krishnamurti says that once you begin to learn about your own mind and you find something very disturbing there, then you have to really watch it. And Krishnamurti says, once the mind is open, however little, it cannot be closed again. So it is like Krishna ji says, the cupboard, once you open it, your mind, you will not be able to close it. This man says, I am utterly alone. How am I to know love? I have never loved, he says. And Krishna ji says, because he was a rich man and he was very miser, Krishna ji says, to die rich is to have lived in vain. The flame of love is not of the mind. So only when the mind is very, very clean and the heart is really pure, then there is a possibility of feeling what Krishnamurti calls love. And also Krishnamurti says the activity called service, like social work, is not love. Discipline, tolerance is not love. Cultivated compassion is not love, because love cannot be cultivated. It comes from self-knowledge when we begin to understand ourselves very, very clearly. Then there is a possibility of coming to that kind of love, which is not for anybody, but it is a state of mind which is very clear and very happy in aloneness. It never feels lonely, even if when it is alone. And then also there is one article, This Problem of Love, and in which the wife of a rich man, the rich man was a politician, very, very high in the government, and this his wife, she had the drive, and her husband, the politician, had a lot of brain. And so with the brain of the man and the drive of his wife, they were rising very high in the government. And then the man got cancer and he was in the hospital, and the wife was very, very sad, and she came to Krishnaji, and then Krishnaji says, a very, very disturbing question Krishnaji asked to that woman. She was very unhappy, and Krishnaji says, do you love your husband, or do you love the things which came through him? So this is, she was very, very highly disturbed, and she says that I'm not able to listen to you. Maybe I will come again sometime. And after the husband dies, she comes again to Krishnaji to discuss, and she understands what Krishnaji was talking about. Now I will tell you, do we have time, Sushilji?
Yes, sir, you can go on.
Okay. I'm also interested in many Hindi songs, and many things what Krishna ji says about love is also expressed in Hindi songs. And there's one song which says, "Chup chup khade ho, jarur koi baat hai, pehli mulaqat hai, ye pehli mulaqat hai." That means in the first meeting between a boy and a girl, they both become very silent. And then it says, पहली मुलाकात में बात ऐसी हो गई, राजा भी खो गया, रानी भी खो गई, दोनों को न पता चला मजे की ये बात है. So it says that in the first meeting between a boy and a girl, there is a state of real love, and they don't even know, and they are very quiet, and they are enjoying looking at each other. But then what happens after they come close, then it says that साजन की बात पर गुस्सा जो आ गया, जुल्फों का बादल गालों पे छा गया, अभी अभी दिन था, अभी अभी रात है, पहली मुलाकात है. So that love, which was very, very good, it becomes a problem later on after they live together and understand each other or have images about each other. And then it is very difficult to get back to that state of love which they had in the beginning. So it is very, very difficult to fall in love, but to rise in love is for very, very few people. And I think it is possible if a person is really understanding himself or herself in this relationship and not get attached and begin to possess the person. Also, there is a Galib, इश्क पर जोर नहीं है वो आतिश गालिब कि लगाए न लगे बुझाए न बुझे. So love is something which cannot be ignited by will and desire. It happens. And once it happens, it cannot be quenched. That is what Ghalib said. And there is another song, मोहब्बत ऐसी धड़कन है जो समझाई नहीं जाती. A film Anarkali. So says love is such a vibration in the heart which cannot be explained to people. And then Kabir says, पोथी पढ़ी पढ़ी जग मुआ पंडित हुआ न कोई ढाई अक्षर प्रेम का पढ़े सो पंडित होय. So one can read books about love, but nobody becomes real, that feeling. But people who understand this, what that word love means, dhai akshar prem ka padhe so pandit hoy. And such a person can become very learned man also, though he may not have read many books, but a person who genuinely loves begins to understand himself as well as humanity, because we and humanity are very, very similar. When we understand ourselves, we understand other human beings. And also there is one Kabir song, Prem Gali Ati Sankari, Jame Dono Samai. So love is if there is a feeling of I or me and you, then there is no love. Then there is um, a, a, a separation between the observer and the observed. So in the feeling of love, there is no thinking, there is no separation, no observer and observed distinction. And that is what Kabir says. So I have said enough things. So I would be very happy to hear from our friends what they feel about what Krishnaji has said or anything else, what they feel. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Harshad sir. I am just saying one share of Mir. मेरी मोहब्बत नहीं है रोजाना मिलने को मौकूफ. मौकूफ माने निर्भर करती है. मेरी मोहब्बत नहीं है रोजाना मिलने को मौकूफ, बस एक मुलाकात है कि उम्र भर चली जाती है. बस एक मुलाकात है कि उम्र भर चली जाती है. Whether it is a falling in love or rising in the love, I don't know.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody? Dinesh,
Dinesh.
unmute.
Are you able to listen to me, sir?
Yes.
Okay. Harshad sir has said what JK has said, and we have also heard these things earlier also. And this is a method of negation which JK has already explained or said in details. I would like to touch the other aspect of it, which tradition has says, or tradition wants to say about the love. What they say, asti bhati priyata, means existence, awareness, and lovefulness. These are three characteristics of God. these, out of which this lovingness is already implied in the characteristics of God. What means existence? Again, I will repeat: existence, then awareness, and priyata means lovefulness. So here also, I would also like to quote from Gajanan Maharaj of Shegao, who says, "Asti priyata bhati thai, asti bhati priyata thai, Yogeshwar nigam na rai." Means in his own characteristic of existence, awareness, and lovefulness, the God remains Atmamugdha, or remains in himself, and he is full in his fullness. He remains in his fullness. The other Maharashtrian sant of Gondolekar Maharaj, he also says that this existence, awareness, and priyata, asti bhati priyata, are the implied characteristics, and nam and rup means the name and form. Name and form are the manifested, clear manifested forms, or we can say manifestation of the God. So name and form are the clear manifestation in which existence, awareness, and this lovefulness are the inherent characteristics of God. Similarly, this is also, we can say that this is also, the other two characteristics are love, apart from love are beauty and beauty is also one of them, and Anand is also one of them. So Anand and beauty. But in case of God, these are full, complete in themselves. Whereas in case of humans or any animal or any other kingdom, manifestation, it is incomplete. So this incompleteness automatically creates affinity, or we can say attraction towards the other things. The most of the attraction comes through the female part, or female towards female, but this also is manifested in attraction, is also manifested about the other things like objects. Say one wants to, is very has got very much affinity about the car, and he wants to have the car. As soon as he gets the car, that affinity gets over, and for some time he feels that he's okay, or he's complete, or he's fulfilled his needs. So the desire or need is completed by getting that car, and he feels fulfilled for some time. Means that incomplete energy gets completed by the energy, you can say the energy already present in the car. Similarly, so what love we know is the limited expression of the manifestation of that dimension, we can say in JK's terminology, which when manifest in such human mankind or some other animal kingdom or some, then it's a limited, and that's why it wants to get itself complete. So for the completion, the love is the express version of that. Harshad sir also said that JK statement has also said about the JK statement that love is the, in relationship, informs you about yourself, the ways of your mind, and it purifies you. So in my view, nothing is wrong in getting relationship with this thing, females, or there is nothing wrong in getting married or this thing. Only one has to be aware about the attachment and the sentimentality portion, which Harshad sir has also pointed out. So there is no problem in getting married or this thing, in my views. There is no problem in because it is a natural thing. This attraction, since it is coming from the your root, so it is a very common and natural thing, and one can go into it. Of course, when there will be there will be conflict, or there will be other aspects coming into the picture, there will be a there will be a pain or there will be a sorrow and other things. But when there is nothing wrong in getting that experience, because in my views, and also the other many literature, this traditional literature says that man has taken birth basically because for the experiencing, because to experience he has taken the birth. If there is no experiencing, there is there is nothing, no means we can say that there is no meaning of life. Life means experiencing. So one can go in experiencing, nothing wrong in it, but one has to be very aware that he should not go into the, he should understand about the attachment and the sentimental issues. So this is what I feel. Right now, this is this much I want to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
What are Harshad sir views?
Even Krishnaji was attached to his brother Nityanand, and he believed that his brother will not die, and then he left his brother to go to India. And when he was in the ship, a telegram came that his brother had died in Ohio, and it was a great shock for him and tremendous suffering for 10 days. But after 10, and he did not try to escape from that suffering. When attachment is broken, there is a lot of suffering. And then people sometime escape. And but Krishnamurti did not escape. And after 10 days, he said, I and my brother are one. So he had found real happiness or clarity or whatever we say, because um, when that there is no attachment to anybody, even to one's own self, then there is a real freedom. Because Krishnaji says that where the self is, love is not. So Krishnaji's teachings goes at the root of the self. And we can read about all that, but then most people will say that it is impossible to be free. And Krishnamurti is expecting that kind of freedom from the self, from ego. And it means that freedom from all the problems which ego creates, like fear, anger, jealousy, loneliness, conflict in relationship. So sometimes people say that if all the problems are gone, that life will be very boring, they will say, because of the problems, they feel very alive. But it is because only that they have really not come to that state, and they are imagining that if there is no problem, then life will be very boring. But real life comes when there are no problems, and then everything what we see is very beautiful. And every day is a new day. So this is what I feel. And this is also traditional philosophy. Also that Satchidanand, I am not, neither this, I am not that, I am neither guru nor disciple, that na bhumi na toyam, Chidananda Rupa Shivoham Shivoham. So all this philosophy, they are taking to the freedom from the self. And one has to go through problems and observe oneself and see what is happening. If we get caught into these problems, then all that philosophy, it just becomes only interesting to talk about and not live with such. Okay, Shakti ji would like to speak. Yeah.
Please unmute Shakti ji and say.
My voice is coming, sir?
Yeah,
Yes.
Yeah. This question of love, one thing is very obvious, that when it happens, when love happens, when it is not contrived to fulfill any selfish ends or fulfilling one's own desire, that is contrived by thought. But it does happen without any cause. And then one is so attentive in the presence of this person, really attentive. And so not much thought process going on. So everything, not only that person, all the surrounding becomes beautiful. But then what happens that this person cannot be all the time with you, with me. He has to go somewhere. Then those hours, those moments, they become so tasteless and so boring that then one wants to go to remember those moments of happiness. And then the whole circle begins. So when I heard Krishnamurti saying love is not remembrance, that was a very, it was like he was inviting us, he was not rejecting the experience of love, but somewhere, this is what I understood, that he is inviting us, if we are ready to feel that joy, then we must be ready to face that pain also without running away from it. And that doesn't happen. And then slowly that love becomes some sort of source of feeling good, and then the whole thing begins. But there is something beautiful about human to human love, or any type of love, which perhaps religious people would call that so-called love. But it is a great gift with its problem, which in fact we ourselves create. Thank you, sir.
Arun
Arun,
Pratha.
yeah, Arun Pratha.
Yeah, hello. Good evening, everyone. Harshad sir, I have one question for you. It was very interesting, the topic which you have chosen and the way you have gave it a lot of examples and all. It was very nice. So my question is like, see, love, basically, in whatever way it is, it has to be expressed, Otherwise, suppose I see you, how will I know that whether you love me or not? Only when I see your face or your expression, I will know whether you like me or not. So there, my thinking and feeling has to work, right? So
Yeah.
I'm not able to really understand the point that without thinking and feeling, how will any kind of communication happen between two person in a relationship, and how will I know that you love me? That's a question. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a very good question you are asking. And the actual feeling is non-verbal. But then when we start talking and discussing, then problems arise. And at that time, one has to be aware of what is happening within us. And without that awareness, then images are formed about each other, and then there will be conflict. And this happens to almost all people. Even psychologists who have studied the human mind, they are not free from the conflict. But people who study their own mind in a direct way, of course, reading Krishnamurti or some other philosopher may be necessary to awaken something within us so that we begin to observe our own mind very clearly. And then there can be a relationship without problems, conflict. But again, one person may be free, but the other person, like a man, suppose a man is free, but the woman is not free, then that will create problems when there is attachment and all that problem happen. Only when the both a man and woman or other any two people, when they are free, they are not lonely, they are happy, then they can have real relationship without any problems. Otherwise, problems are bound to happen. And generally, it is like they say, falling in love. It means actually one begins to fall and deteriorate, and many problems arise. But rising is different. And there's a possibility exists for some few people who wants to give full attention to their own mind and not just keep on reading and gathering information from the books. So maybe this is very, very difficult, but it's still possible, I feel. Yes, I have finished.
Pradeep Verma, sir. Please unmute.
Pradeep ji, yeah.
Good evening, Harshad Bhai. What a
Good
topic.
evening.
What a beautiful topic. To me, because with what, some basic questions, with what we negate anything. To me, usually my mind is involved, which is dualistic in nature. And if somebody has said that this is not this is not that is not that, or say Sankaracharya, neti, 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 neti. All right. Life is the biggest teacher. Everybody says so, including JK, who was a great lover of observing nature as such, interesting things. I think that everything in life has beauty in it. Even you have expressed it in so many ways. Everything has some beauty in it. Simply negation, even when somebody said and we say, yes, this is not, because nothing is complete in itself. These expressions cannot be complete. You know, the painters paint, sculptors sculpting, and all that. It is never. Energy is little way, fragmented energy. That's all. But the fragment is in the whole. So we cannot simply disregard these things. And why should we? When we are talking of holism, when we are talking of holistic view of life, and life is a great teacher, these things are still there in me. All of these things, realization says that now this has no meaning. Now this has no meaning. Now this particular thing has not relevance. But at that time it was there. So there is no point in, in a way we are fragmenting life. In a way, when we are saying this is this polarities, then we are fragmenting it. So we are doing just the opposite of what we are trying to advocate. This is what my feeling is, Harshad Bhai. Please.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Life is the biggest teacher, of course, for people who are very alert, awake, and good student. Otherwise, it's not possible to learn something. One needs a kind of a freedom, like Krishna ji says, freedom is at the beginning. That means how do you listen? How do you look? How do you learn? What is the state of the mind which is looking? So Krishna ji was asking such questions. How do you look at a tree? Even to students, young students. So life is a teacher, provided the person is really awake, alert, and a good student, learning from life. Otherwise, we get caught into, yeah. Yes.
Sir, do you want to say something more?
Harshad Bhai, but we are
Yeah.
retaining all those things which verbally we have neglected all those things. But those things are very much there in me. Intellectually, they have been negated, verbally negated because somebody had some experience and he says, this is not that, this is not that, that also. But are we disturbing the whole by simply making further divisions again and again, something like going to quantum ultimately, if even realization of quantum, ultimately it is that nobody is there, there is no matter, there is no this thing, no life, everything is to those particles. So ultimately negation is topmost through quantum mechanics. You see, but is this life? Is this life? Are we living this type of life? Me especially, I am not talking about others. They may say that we have realized it and it is. I can say that statement seems to be true in this present situation I am undergoing. But then the things change next time, next moment things are different. In a flux, how we go on negating and then suddenly it gives a different picture to us. That is what my feeling is, you know.
Yeah.
Anand,
Yes.
sir.
Anand sir.
Yes, sir.
Hmm.
So we listen to Krishnamurti, we listen to his words, immediately we interpret that and that I apply to myself and I say this is what it is. It seems to be happening again and again and again. We don't pay attention to what he talks about between the words. So that is very essential. And Krishnamurti talks about love with his passion is just beyond the society. How do I understand that? He's talking about the love which is beyond the society, which is you and me. And I want to talk about love. Love is not just loving a girl, loving my wife, loving my children. The moment I say I love my son, love my wife, love the pretty girl, there's a reason, there's a cause. She's good looking, or the way she talks I like, the way she walks I like, etc., etc., etc. And I call that a love. How come, sir, despite being with Krishnamurti for so many years, we again interpret his words when he says, don't interpret me. And he says, interpret is a form of violence. I say, this is what he says. I make him an authority. And I quote other authorities. Why is that? Like he says, one has to die to know what love is. Then again, I say, I must die. Like the other day, like he says, out of nothingness. I see a danger. I see a precipice. There's an action. I don't say that action has to be out of nothingness or out of emptiness or I have to die there. Why do we make it so very profound? Krishnamurti himself says our brains are complicated. He says everything is simple. I don't look at it. I want to complicate it. I say if I have to do something, it has to be out of emptiness, out of nothingness. Again, here we're talking about love. He talks about it's beyond society, it says. Beyond the range of society, which is you and me. How do I understand that is a question? Again, he says, to know what love is, you have to die. Then immediately I say, I should die. Now look at my problems, sir. How I create my own problems. And
Yeah.
he says, life is relationship. How do I understand what relationship is? I say, I know what life is. I know what life is between me and my society and my country and things like that. When we talk about life is relationship, what is the relationship I have with life? Life per se. Not that girl, pretty girl, or that family, or my son, or my wife, or you or me. That is not relationship he's talking about. He's talking about something which is the truth, the fact which I refuse to see it. And I'm the reason, you and me are the reasons for what is happening. But I don't look at it. And I say it should happen out of nothingness. There's an excuse for me. It should happen out of nothingness. I have to die, or it has to be out of emptiness, etc., etc., etc. That's all there is. And day in and day out, we are caught in this. And we don't want to come out because it gives me a lot of pleasure to say that I understand what he's saying. I know what he's saying. So I don't want to look at it.
Yeah.
Over, sir. Thank you.
Yeah. Yes. When we read Krishnamurti, how we read is also very important. Or when we listen to him, and either we do it intellectually and then begin to interpret Krishnamurti, or we look within ourselves and see whether it is really true. And that is more important. And once a person is able to look within himself, how the problems are created in relationship, then there's a real understanding. So then we can even drop Krishnamurti and we can speak from our own life. And so I would say that problem happens when we read intellectually and then try to interpret Krishnamurti, and it would become very confusing because sometimes Krishnamurti may say one thing and the other time he may say something quite opposite. So what is important is that when Krishnamurti, you read Krishnamurti and it ignites in you a different way of looking at your own mind. And that's what he calls awareness. So this awareness is not awakened. People are just living in the thinking, interpreting only. But when this awareness comes, which is coming from a kind of a different plane than thinking and feeling, then one can really see how we are creating problems for ourselves in relationship. So this is very important. And we speak from our own, not repeating Krishnamurti is not truth. It is actually false to repeat Krishnamurti. But when we are here in a meeting, I'm saying how I learned about Krishnamurti and what he said, how it affected me. So I spoke from that, my own way of looking, listening, learning. And I found it, Krishnamurti was really correct in whatever he was saying. Though I don't accept everything what he says, I have to find out for myself because there is no authority in this field. We can't put Krishnamurti on a very high pedestal and think that everything what he says is true. It may not be true. It may be true for him. It may not be true for me. So I have to be really true to myself and not try to conform to what Krishnamurti is saying. Okay, I have said enough. Yeah.
Ravi Kaushal, sir. Ravi Kaushal, please unmute yourself. Hello. Hello.
Yes.
Hello. Okay. Am I audible, sir?
Yes.
You are audible. Go on. Am I audible, sir?
Yes.
Yes, you are.
Hello. Yes, you are audible.
You are. Probably we are not audible to you.
Am I audible? Yes, you are audible.
Yes, you are.
We are able to.
More correct in this statement. He is not
Hello.
listening.
Yes, okay. Go on.
Anand sir, please say if you wanted to say something.
What the problem is there?
So, yeah. So again, the same thing, sir. We say when I listen to Krishnamurti again, over and over again, he said, sir, don't listen to me. You're listening to yourself.
Yes.
You're not reading me, you're reading yourself. That is what he kept saying. No, it is not Krishnamurti is right or wrong. The moment I say right and wrong, I'm caught in my own conditioning.
Yes.
It is what he's saying is, I wouldn't say what he's saying. Okay, I'll put within quotes, what he's saying is the truth, the fact. That's all there is. So I can't say this fact is right and this fact is not, that this truth is okay and this truth is not okay. The moment I say right and wrong, sir, can I see I'm back to my conditioning? And what is said to be learned from K or anybody else? He says there's nothing to be learned from anyone. The moment you want to learn from somebody else, you have made him an authority. That is my conditioning. That is why we have gurus. That's it. That is why we have saints. That is why we have leaders. I mean, how do I understand this? It is a question, sir. Again, he says there has to be passion. There has to be seriousness. Seriousness in what is not what we understand as what seriousness means. He's talking about seriousness, I think, within quotes again, I'm saying is something totally different. Am I really very serious? Is a question. So a plane does not take off if the mechanics get to know that it's not 100% fit for 350 or 400 people. The flight doesn't take off. 98% it's all right, but 2% says that something is wrong somewhere. But when 98% of the scientists are saying that in the danger of being wiped out, we don't even look at it. See my own contradictions in life. Because I'm not serious. If I'm serious, I have to do something about it. I don't want to be serious. I'm putting within quotes. I don't want to be serious. I say there are somebody else. There are other people. Like if they're so serious, someone would have taken action. See, again, I depend upon the leaders, the other well-known people, the scientists, the politicians. Look at the tragedy of life, sir. The question, again, I'm saying, are we really serious? Are we really serious about what's happening? When I talk about love, it's again a pleasurable activity. I don't know what love is. It just gives me pleasure looking at a beautiful girl. It gives a lot of pleasure. I may call it love. I may fall in love. I say I fall in love because I'm thinking of her all the time. I have to question, is that what love is? And then I say, when there is love, there's no suffering. See, sir, life does not exist without suffering. However, whether K or no K, he had to go through all the problems.
Okay.
And we seem to think that love is there, then, there will be no problems. That is the biggest misconception, I would say, sir. Thank you.
Yeah. Shakti Kumar.
Please unmute.
My voice is reaching, sir.
Yes.
Harshadji, you were reading about this person, this article, who became more disturbed after listening to Krishnamurti, because was a sentence that you read that Krishnamurti says that once you start watching, then it will not go away completely. Was it so, or have I heard wrong?
Yeah. May I clarify it?
Yeah.
What Krishnaji says, that once you begin to see within yourself something which is disturbing, but it is true, something which is true and disturbing, then you will not be able to escape from it. And it will, as long as you are not free from that, it will come and disturb you again and again. And so Krishnamurti says, once the cupboard is open, you will not be able to close it because there are many skeletons in the cupboard, and you won't be able to hide it. And so there may be more conflict because the person knows that what Krishnamurti says is true, but he cannot live that way. So it creates more conflict. So that was the problem with that person and with many other people, that there is more conflict after reading Krishnamurti.
Harshad sir.
Yeah.
Normally, what we see in life, where there is some kind of relationship, there is some kind of give and take always.
Yes.
Just like mother, father, and siblings, children, and every similar relationships are maintained in the society and the family, and everywhere we can see it. Just like teacher and student and everything. Some kind of love and affection is there always, and there are images always.
Yes.
But what I think that these images should not interfere in between the actual relationship happening. Because when somebody is giving something to somebody,
at that moment there is absence of the ego or the self, but at some other time it may come. So one should be very much watchful in
Yeah.
normal relationships also, because it is not possible to live without images in the
Yeah.
world itself.
Yeah.
So what do you want to say about it?
Yeah, I would say that the relationship exists at three different levels. They are interrelated, of course. One is a relationship at the physical level, like we are playing together and eating together, like in the school life, in the or in the hostel, like that, at physical level. Then there is a relationship at the mental level. What we think about the other person, there is a mental relationship. And if that mental relationship is not good, then it will affect physical relationship. So if I have some fear or anger about somebody, then that anger will come and then it will create problem at a physical level also. But what Krishnamurti talks about is a relationship beyond physical and mental, is the relationship without images. That means to look without the previous knowledge which you have gathered. Like it is easy to have uh, that kind of relationship with a tree or with nature, because the nature does not react to what you say. But between human beings, that relationship without images exists only when both of them are free. And I feel that most people who came close to Krishnamurti, they had images about Krishnamurti. And they wanted to compete with each other sometimes to be close to Krishnamurti. But Krishnamurti did not look in that way. His relationship was not expecting something from them. It was really love, looking fresh, looking clearly. So a person who is free from ego, he has a relationship with others who may have ego. But the people who have ego, they have no relationship with anybody. So Krishnamurti's relationship, I felt that way first time when I met Krishnaji in 1977 in Ojai. It was completely non-verbal. He looked at me, I looked at him, and then I extended my hand. He took my hand, and without saying anything, I went away, and I felt very happy. I even did not say anything, and he also did not say anything, but it was something extraordinary to meet a person like that who just looks without any image. And my mind also became like that in his being close to him. And I also looked at him, not that he is a great person, a great teacher. I did not look at them. There was no fear, no hesitation, nothing. Just extended my hand. And without, my mind was silent. He was silent, of course. So such moments are very, very few in the life of human beings. And Krishnamurti expected, probably he had that kind of relationship. Okay, I have finished. Yeah.
Ravi Kaushal.
Sir, he is not able to unmute. I tried to do that.
Okay. Pradeep, Dr.
Hello.
Sir has unmuted his-
Dr.
Hello.
Yes,
Hello. Yes, sir. Am I audible?
yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Good evening, sir.
Yeah. Hello.
Yes, sir. Actually, the subject today you picked up this love. Merely for me, this is sorry, my English is not that good. Please bear that. This subject is
You can speak
so
in Hindi.
passionate for me. See,
Hindi.
I can't stop myself to express myself.
Why don't you speak in
Hello.
Hindi? You speak in Hindi.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll mix when I go find a word. Okay, so this thing, and there was a time जब मैं I was looking कि दुनिया में किसी ने भी प्रेम पर अच्छे से अच्छा क्या कहा है, तो I forgot some quotes, but एक मेरे को खुसरो का याद था कि वो पता नहीं, maybe this is खुसरो or whom, that खुसरो दरिया इश्क का उल्टी वा की धार, जो उभरा सो डूब गया, जो डूबा सो पार। और एक और बहुत सुंदर जो मुझे लगता था, वो खुसरो बाजी प्रेम की, मैं खेलूं पी के संग, जीत गई तो पिया मोरे, हारी पी के संग। तो these are मतलब like those in a ऐसे मैंने कही, I think Krishnamurti has said that if you know how to love even a one person, you understand what love is. Maybe I think somewhat like that Krishna ji has said that. And one thing Harshad ji is saying that if two person only can relate if they both are free, this is not happen in life, and this is not the condition for the one who is actually free. So for whom for that person this doesn't matter the other person is free or not. So in a way he is related to everything. So this is what Krishnamurti ji has talked on love, mostly on what love is not. So when he says that love is not attachment, so that thing actually gives me the energy to see all the attachments in me in my life, with my career, with my business, with my property, with my father. I see all those attachments, and this gives me the energy to somehow I understand that in relationship love and freedom can go together. So this is the thing. और मेरे को प्रेम एक ऐसी चीज है जिस पर मेरे को जितना मैं सुनूं मुझे बहुत अच्छा लगता है, तो मैं I can't resist myself to speak on that. So that's why I came here. So thank you sir, thanks a lot.
डॉक्टर प्रदीप
एक
वर्मा,
और चीज की कृष्णमूर्ति जी ने व्हाट लव इज नॉट पर बहुत कहा है, उसका एक रीजन ये भी है कि ना जो माइंड जो है ना, माइंड ह्यूमन माइंड जो है ना, वो लव को जानता ही नहीं है। उसके पास उसके बहुत सारे आइडियाज हैं और वो जान ही नहीं सकता एज अ मैटर ऑफ फैक्ट। उसके पास ऐसी कोई उसके पास ऐसा कोई टूल ही नहीं है, ना तो नॉलेज उसका ऐसा टूल है, ना ही अंडरस्टैंडिंग उसका ऐसा टूल है। अंडरस्टैंडिंग अपने आप में बहुत जबरदस्त चीज होने के बावजूद भी लिमिटेड चीज है, क्योंकि वो एक इट्स अंडरस्टैंडिंग ऑफ समवन, तो वो एक और उसके अंदर भी ना अंडरस्टैंडिंग जो है ना उसमें एक सटल में रह जाता है। तो दिस इज द थिंग। तो प्रेम की बात यार बहुत बहुत प्यारी है, और प्रेम करो और जान लो कि प्रेम क्या है। तो कैसे कहूँ सर, ये बहुत ब्यूटीफुल चीज है। बस थैंक यू सर, थैंक्स लॉट।
Okay.
डॉक्टर प्रदीप वर्मा, प्लीज।
Yes, sir. Harshad bhai, few more feelings, because it's a problem of naming, you know. He has talked a lot about naming, and both the things, if you remember, the word is not the thing and naming is the problem. So we are discussing, this is what intellectually how we have grasped this, reading him or listening to him. But what we are expressing, all of us, Pradeep, Anand, Harshad, Dinesh, all these people, that is life. Yeah, around the same name, around the same name, we are expressing differently. That is life. You see, so this is a sort of neutralization, or you see, the polarities are somehow, interacting, colliding with each other, and saying that, look, everything is same, and it is life. You see, why to create fragments and then discuss about it? This is what I say. Life says, life is life. Living, everybody knows that living is life. Life is for living. And living has all these things which you might have negated, saying something, doing something, or experience something at some time of the year, your life, that no, it has not worked. all those things. So intelligence, intellect, ignorance, everything interwoven beautifully goes with life, all of us. At some time or the other, we feel it. So this is the naming problem. Suppose that name love was not given to it, what will you express? Non-verbally? Non-verbal expression is the most powerful expression. This is what I feel. The most powerful is non-verbal. The moment you name it, the moment there is a word for it, things start and mind starts and storm starts, everything starts. But once you have realized inside all of us in life, then these storms don't bother us at all. Now we are enjoying actually discussion. With all sorts of polarities, we are discussing with each other. No problem, absolutely no problem, no conflicts. So this is what happens. This is what my feeling is. The more we fragment it, the more we discuss, the more dissipation of energy is there. That is what my feeling. Life has taught me this even now. But this is not dissipation, what we are doing right now. It is quite encouraging. It is, you see, conservation of energy also takes place. You see, togetherness of energy, summing of energy, we are feeling when we are discussing. This is what love is, I think.
We are understanding ourselves in dialogue, sir.
Everything.
Harshad, sir.
Yeah, after all these dialogues, when we are having this kind of meeting, dialogue, discussion, okay, different people have a different views, but then what happens after the dialogue is over and when we are alone, are we really at peace with our mind very happy and, and not forget everything what we have. And of course, it is necessary to have this kind of dialogue and one can learn it, but the real understanding happens when we are alone and looking inward. And then that understanding will help in relationship with people. And then we can see, even if there is a beginning of some problem coming, that kind of awareness is ignited. And then we can see whatever is coming up, anger, fear, jealousy, and seeing that dissolves the problem. So our problem is not thinking and naming and all that. It is the lack of really seeing clearly everything, which Krishnaji calls short-term awareness or intelligence. So this will go on. We can go on discussing for many years, but what happens after discussion? That is more important. Okay, I have finished.
Next Sunday, we will be having Richa Sharma with us at 11 a.m.
Sir, time, Sushil ji?
11 a.m.
Okay.
Topic Krishnamurti on peace and education, perhaps.
Thanks all.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Now, can we finish this love now?
Yes, in love for the dialogue and for all, for this meeting together.
For what Harshad has promised us.
Yes, sir. Right. Thanks all.
Thank you.